I've been getting quite a few questions lately related to building and managing teams beyond just how to play the game itself within a team environment. So today we're going to dive into what it takes to build a quality, competition-grade team, not just in Onward, but any team-oriented competitive game. Just a reminder before I get started, I talked about how to play within a team environment in a previous video. I outlined how teamwork, communication, and trust are critical components of the in-game team experience, and I recommend you watch that if you haven't already. The first step towards building a quality team is recruiting quality players. This is a tough nut to crack, not just in gaming, but in organizational life in general. There's a reason a multi-billion-dollar recruiting industry exists. All that being said, there are some guidelines you should adhere to when looking for people to add to your roster. I asked JamesBowk, the co-captain of Mayhem and overall brilliant guy, about how he thinks about recruiting. He's someone you should listen to if you want to get hit with nuggets of wisdom left and right.
Hi everyone, this is JamesBowk, co-captain of Mayhem. When Mayhem are recruiting, we focus a lot more on how the person will fit in rather than their skill level, because they need to be part of that team. Skill level is an important qualifier. It shows the player has a basic drive to do well in the game, but the details around tactics and the more advanced skills can be taught.
I can't emphasize this point enough, and it's an important message for all of you new captains out there. There's a big focus on skills in the game, and that's not entirely unjustified because it is an important signal. But at the end of the day, in-game tactics and skills mean a whole lot less than a person's ability to be a good teammate.
It actually may be more desirable sometimes to have someone who is more green, because then they're learning your tactics and the way in which you do it as part of the team, rather than having to unlearn something.
This is another great point. When you're recruiting, it's often seen as a risky bet if you take on newer players. That's not without merit, but it is worth considering that a new person with potential represents a blank canvas you can help turn into a stellar teammate. A lot of veteran teams struggle with this because experienced players get set in their ways, which can in turn create losing team cultures. As I highlighted in my video about joining the league, teams like Warfare have built quality cultures around this idea. The captain and a couple of team members have experience, and everyone else is a rookie. By leveraging what the veterans have learned, these new players can level up and move the team up the rankings very quickly. Same could be said for Pandemonium, which is filled with rookies, but is also being somewhat guided by Mayhem, a veteran team. Anyway, don't worry if you're a captain of a team filled with new players. In some ways, it's an advantage. You get to shape your own team culture and build people up from scratch. Everyone can level up together, and then you'll have a baseline for figuring out what you want and need from future recruits.
We don't have a specific requirement set. We don't want the same person every time. We want diversity. We do have some things they do have to buy into. They have to buy into our core values. You might have different values than ours. For us, we want to play the game in a competitive way, but we don't want to do cheesy things. We're not about winning at any cost.
Once again, there's an emphasis here on the person rather than a pure focus on their in-game capacities. His overall philosophy of how to play the game is deeply intertwined with his sense of ethics, and he expects that out of everyone on the team. Some people might disagree with that stance, but those people aren't going to be a fit on a team like Mayhem. Here's Thunderpilot, a captain of multi-time Onward League champions Globochem, making a similar point.
Wow. And we approached this game in a very specific way, and we just found more players that do the same. This wasn't us teaching them how we play, this was us finding players that play the same as us and that can integrate into the same dynamic that we've always tried to create.
In other words, they don't want someone on the team who they have to break down and rebuild. Like James and Mayhem, Thunder and Globochem are looking for players who already align with their views on the game. That doesn't mean either of these teams want drones who just follow orders without thought, but they aren't looking to reprogram anyone either.
You do not need everyone in the team to be the best at all of the skills. Different people have different strengths and weaknesses. Just acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses as this will help the player be used more efficiently and effectively as part of the team.
Don't expect everyone to be world class at every element of the game, expect them to have some level of specialization. And more importantly, acknowledge what each person's strengths and weaknesses are. These kinds of honest appraisals will help you learn and evolve, which is critical for any competitive game. There are two things I'm seeing quite a bit of with the influx of new teams: tryouts and hierarchies. Quite a few rookie teams are holding tryouts or tryout type events where they test the skill of individual players and then make a determination about whether a player is good enough. While I understand everyone doing this is new and they're not sure what to do, this isn't a great approach. The problem here is twofold. First of all, if you're a rookie, then you won't know what to look for skill-wise. You're making judgments without having the basis for quality judgment, and that basis is experience. It is, in a very real way, the blind leading the blind. You don't know what a good player looks like, so you're not really in a position to make that call. Furthermore, asking someone to perform specific actions in specific sequences doesn't really do much anyway, as skill in real-time execution-focused games like Onward is largely about adaptation and not really about being the best shot, best grenade thrower, so on and so forth. Good teams instead use a prospecting process, where players are given multiple opportunities to demonstrate their potential. This allows you to not only see where they are skill-wise, but gives you a sense of what their overall game philosophy is. A good starting point is to just bring them into the Discord and see what kind of rapport develops. Again, skill and tactics can be taught over time. The more important questions revolve around the character of the person involved. As James explained, some commitment to getting better ahead of time matters, which is why skill is evaluated, but that isn't the sole determinant of who belongs and who doesn't. So if you're holding tryouts now, I'd say stop doing that. Instead, open your doors to prospects for scrims, then after you've got a few under your belt with those prospects, narrow down who you think will be the best bet in the future and give them roster spots. If someone is the exact opposite of what you want in a teammate, drop them completely. But if you think someone could someday be a viable player, then keep them in the prospect status or at least keep them on friendly terms in the Discord or something. I know this process works because that's how everyone at the top of the chain does it. Everyone under consideration at that level is good, and decisions are made based on how well someone integrates with how the team operates as a unit, not necessarily on their skill. Lower level teams often stay lower level because they don't focus enough on this process. Instead, they see a skill gap on their roster and think that's their problem. If they spend more time focusing on character, philosophy, and other more important aspects of being a good teammate, they would likely have much better quality of players. I don't want to spend a ton of time speaking about hierarchies, but I do think they need to be addressed. I've seen some teams run by brand new players assigning grandiose military-style titles without anyone involved having played in a single competitive match. Beyond just the absurdity of that, this kind of structure discourages honest feedback and learning, which is in turn a recipe for disaster. Onward, like most complex competitive games, is fluid and always evolving. Players are in a constant metagame arms race, and that means everyone on the team needs to be participating in the process of shaping the team's play. With a rigid hierarchy, that's not possible. By insisting on strict top-down control, you're killing the very thing which leads to success. Guys, I understand you want to take this game seriously, but that's not the way to do it. While Onward is realistic compared to a lot of other shooters, it's still just a game and the league isn't the military. Your tastes may vary, but if I personally saw a team operating like this that asked me to join, I wouldn't even consider the offer. A quality team's leadership emerges naturally through time and experience playing together as a unit. It's not imposed by someone who wants to play mini dictator in a video game.